Oh, yeah. It's that time again.
It's Daytona.
That's right. Daytona week as well. We are going to have some fun on Saturday night. And hopefully, if all goes well, I know you're going to be cooped up in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Where is that?
St. Louis, the IndyCar
St.
race.
Louis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it could actually be pretty interesting if the kids are up and you're able to do the show with the kids up. That could even be interesting.
Yeah. I might get their takeaway. Like, hey, what do you think? Look at the
Yeah.
kids' point of view. Sometimes their point of view is they might share some of the point of view or have something different that we're not seeing.
Why not? How old are
Yeah.
they?
9. Well, James 9. Wesley's 5. He'll be 6 next month, and she just turned 2, so she won't have much of an opinion. But
Well,
the
the
two
boys
boys
are
probably will.
perfect ages.
Oh yeah, they love NASCAR. So
It's awesome. Well,
they went to the race out here a few weeks ago. So
do they watch the would they watch the race with you if it was a night race, or do they get pooped out and fall asleep?
oh no, they'd stay up if I let them. They would. So that's why with us being the one we'll probably be watching if we're
Well,
we're
there
in
you
their
go.
room.
That might be interesting.
They'll exactly no they won't let us watch anything else. They'll definitely want to watch that. So there's no doubt in my mind. It's just the lay of the land. Can we make this work without too much chaos? Which should. So, but no, they'll definitely
so
want
you
to be
say,
watching.
hey, if you're good, we'll get you on the air for a couple of seconds. If you're good, so that
there you go.
Maybe that'll entice them.
That might. Yeah, that might. Yeah, the oldest has his own little YouTube channel that he just puts some of his basketball videos and stuff in. So he likes getting subscribers and stuff. So yeah, he might. That might be good enticing him.
Yeah, because the weather's not going to be a factor as far as I could tell.
Surprisingly enough, at Daytona and August and summer, we typically get rain at that race, but I've not seen it. It looks like the wet pattern comes back next week down there, so they should be all right. We should get a full race in and playoff set.
Yes, so we're looking forward to that. And again, that is going to be on Saturday night, of course. So if all goes well, let's see, the race starts at what, 7:30?
I think 7. I think green flag's probably like 7:20-ish. The NBC, typically when they go to big network NBC, they like to just roll right into it. So
okay.
It says 7. I don't see like a countdown to green or anything on the schedule where they have that pre-race show before. I think it's kind of roll in, get the engines fired a few minutes after it, and get rolling. So I bet it's 7:15, 7:20 would be my
So what
guess.
is it? Probably a 2.5-hour race, 3 hours?
I'd say 3. It depending on how Well, I mean, we've had some quick races the last 2 weeks. So, here we go. Green flag is actually, I stand corrected, 7:46.
All right. So let's see, 8:46, 9:46. So probably somewhere close to 10 o'clock.
That's what I was going to say. Probably
when we would. And again, keep in mind that I'll be in contact with Eric on Saturday, and we'll come up with, once he gets situated in his room and for the night, and he has the race on, and then we can. So we're only going to be able to give you a few hours notice. I mean, we'll try to give you the best notice we can, but the bottom line is just look out. That's why you need to subscribe, and also hit that little bell. That's the notification bell, so that'll remind you as well that there is a live show coming on. So subscribe and be ready. If all goes well and nothing crazy happens, because you guys the reason we're recording the show on Thursday is there was a little bit of a bug going through the Eric Smith household. So we had to delay this recording for Thursday. So better that it was a bug a couple days ago, and hopefully that'll give you guys a clean bill of health for Saturday.
Hopefully so. Yep. Yeah. And to the race, I mean, that's why the Discord to follow it, because it could be really quick. It might be quicker than that.
There you go. Great point.
As Denny Hamlin said, he expects this could be a crash fest. So it could be later.
Okay.
We don't know until the race gets going. But Discord, follow us, and you'll get more of because you can chat with us while we're doing it.
Absolutely. And again, keep in mind that we're gonna, because if we're gonna try to post a live promo since it's a live show, as early as we can. But like Eric said, even if we post the live promo a few hours in advance, definitely check us out on Discord. That's the best way. Once our
Yeah.
promo's up and available, everything else after that, before we even start the show, we'll be able to chat with you guys on Discord. And again, check it out. Description area, we have the link, so it's real easy to set up, and it'll take you less than 5 minutes. All right. So last week, as you said, another road course with how many cautions?
One. We've had 2 in 2 weeks. Yep.
One. And so we had another one of those races. I mean, that's just basically what it is when you don't have a lot of cautions. And this is already a track that we said post position was going to be very important. Throw in one caution, and you know that any of the cars that were starting up front were going to be the ones, and that's basically what it was. It was just Byron just was clearly one of the fastest cars, surprisingly so, was Denny Hamlin. And those guys could have finished first or second either way, depending on just I don't know. I mean, was this more of William Byron's team, and they were faster maybe on pit road with the one caution, or what exactly put William Byron in front that made him that put him in that position to win?
It was the old strategy, what we talked about. They ran the first stage because, as we talked about, there's no stage breaks. There was the stage in, but no stage break. We weren't going to caution. So all the guys up front played it smart. Like we talked, they probably would. Might as well get stage points while you're up there. And then they pit. So McDowell won the stage, Hamlin, Byron second. They crossed the finish line, and the leaders came back around, and they were like, let's pit now. So they came down pit road. Byron didn't. Byron stayed out an extra lap. And in road course racing, this happens a lot in IndyCar, sports cars, Formula One. We don't talk about as much NASCAR because the stage breaks have always kind of negated this, but the overcut and undercut, and what I mean by that is, like what Byron did, is the overcut is you're going to run an extra lap or two over, which you want clean air. So if your tires aren't falling off, which we heard the drivers talk about that a lot over the weekend, was the grip was just as good 15, 20 laps into the run as it was early. So the key is trying to get to pit road the fastest. So if you're second, third, fourth, you're kind of marred back in dirty air, and you just can only go as fast as the car in front of you and you pit. Well, if you stay out an extra lap or two, maybe you're going to run a faster lap time up front with clean air than you would have if you were second and third, just follow the leader. So that's what happened to him. He stayed out an extra lap, ran quicker than he would have ran the lap before, pit, and therefore he leapfrogged. He came out in front. So, and then McDowell having his pit road issue, that combined both of those, and that's where it puts Byron in the lead. And then you have clean air. You do the same thing, rinse, wash, repeat again, and it's just tough to pass. So that's where the strategy calls come in these road course races, which I think fascinating. I like kind of see, but I don't think the TV fully presents what they should as far as the strategy, because that's what really goes on. And I will say, I do like the fact – I like a quick race. It was less than 2 hours. And I think it's easier for gamblers when you have races like this because the best car typically wins again. It's not this fluky stuff where you see these cautions in the end. And like we talked about this after the Indy race. And here we go again. I mean, Byron, he's never been a great road racer. He'll admit that. But you give him a good car and he's up front, clean track position. The best car won. I think it's hard to debate.
Oh, yeah,
that
absolutely.
He was the best car.
Sure.
And I like when the best car wins and some fluky stuff happens because that's what makes it hard for gambling wise and hard to get when guys that haven't been up front all day go from an eighth to a pinball and knock people or bowling ball and all of a sudden they win and they didn't deserve the win. So, I mean, he was 22-1. He didn't have much entering the week thinking that he would win. And over the weekend, if you guys like that, like we told you guys after qualifying, that track position is going to be key. And you might have cashed in on him. Congratulations, because track position was once again a thing. And I think Larson probably might have had something for him if he didn't screw up speeding on pit road. So, but it leads to some great storylines coming into this week because Chase Elliott, Hendrick's got one car going home, not going to make the playoffs. So
yeah, Mr. 3-1 was never in the race. And but again, that's what happens when you don't qualify well. You're and then one caution, you got no chance. And so
No.
yeah, it's and now he's the favorite this week again, which is
Yeah.
we get why he's won. He should be like a top contender, but come on, there's no way he is right now better than like say Ryan Blaney or even Denny Hamlin in this situation or on this particular type of configuration. So I don't know what that is. Maybe it's Vegas's way of understanding that there's going to be a lot of fans that are going to wager on him because just his popularity, knowing he needs to win to go to the playoffs. And so there's going to be a lot of fans that are going to be hoping and they're going to put some money in it. So Vegas is trying to get a head start on that and cut the odds down a little bit. That's what I think happened.
Yeah, because when I look at it, I wasn't gonna pick him anyways this week. Then I don't know what his number was because
Yeah.
he hasn't been great on super speedways this year. And I've got the super speedway competition profile. This is from NASCAR. This is the top 25 and just points scored on super speedways alone. So you're talking Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta. That's it. He's 23rd. He's led one time for 18 laps. He's got 69 total points scored. That counts stage points.
That's this year?
Why is it 20? Yeah. Why is the 23rd ranked driver in points the favorite? Plus, there's the other factor that I don't think he's got any shot of winning. He could have the best car. It'd be a great story if Chase Elliott wins. Who's going to draft with him? Why would you push Chase Elliott to the playoffs?
Yeah,
so all these guys in the playoffs have got to be thinking, I don't want him in. Why would we want to compete with him for a championship with a Hendrick car when we could keep him out? So you better think if Chase Elliott's running in the end, he's going to get hung out to dry by everybody. And it's the other factor is it's not like Alex Bowman's going to push him to win. Bowman gets the win.
Yeah.
Why would Bowman help him? And Kyle Larson, we talked about this. He's probably not going to be up front going for the win.
Probably not.
So now you're really just down to William Byron. And who's he supposed to pick?
Yeah.
He's better off like, hey, you two fight it out. I can't pick a favorite.
Right.
Because if I push one of you to the win, the other one's going to be mad at me.
Yeah,
and that could hurt me in the playoffs. So I don't know who's going to draft with Chase Elliott.
Because this may not matter anyway. But
yeah. So that's why for a favorite,
that's
no way. That's absurd. Especially when you've got so many better drivers. I would have thought Blaney, Logano, and Keselowski would be like co-favorites. They're so good on super speedways for it, but to put Elliott as the overall favorite was puzzling to me.
Yep. It's but again, there's got to be a reason, and I'm thinking that's the reason. We'll see. Let's see. I haven't looked at the odds actually the last couple of days. So yeah, nothing's changed. A little. And again, we put our picks together on Tuesday. So the odds have changed just a little bit where they've come down, but Elliott's still the favorite at 10-1. But one of the things that did happen, which again, as I just mentioned, Denny Hamlin. And Hamlin was 14-1 when we did our picks, and he's now 11-1. So, and that's where he should have been, as we said. And Blaney should have been there too. Here's what's ridiculous: is you got Elliott, Hamlin, and Keselowski ahead of Blaney. That's just man.
Crazy.
Blaney's probably the best right now. This is his thing. This is what right now zoned in. He's probably the best next to Denny Hamlin. It's those guys probably at the top. And if you want spot down, I'm fine with that. But you can't put that Ryan Blaney three drivers ahead of him. And Keselowski, what is he doing as a co-favorite? Don't they realize that this isn't Talladega?
Yeah, because I struggled with that. And you know who the number one point scorer is on super speedways this year?
Who's that?
Blaney.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
4 races, 4 top 10s.
Big surprise.
He's led every race for 73 laps. Keselowski does have 3 top 10s. He's led 110 laps. He's second in points. He's 5 points behind Blaney for points scored in these races. So I don't know how you have Keselowski ahead of Blaney. It's like they're right. If anything, it should be even. But Blaney, he won this race a few years ago. I feel like this is a good spot for him to really get that momentum back going. Plus, I talked about this for Atlanta when we did our takeaways from that race in July, that the guys that have won races are going to get more drafting help than the guys that haven't won races. Because
Yeah.
if you get up front in the end, you're not going to if you haven't won a race and the guy in front of you hasn't won a race, you're not going to help push them to a win to put them in the playoffs and not
True.
you. You're going to line up with guys that have already won. And we know Logano, Blaney, and Keselowski have had the three best cars on super speedways this year. If those three are up front together, they're already going to be hard to get by, but they're going to get extra drafting help because if I'm Daniel Suarez and I'm running up front with Bubba Wallace at the end, I'm not pushing Bubba Wallace to win. I need a win.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hop in line with those Fords and push them further up front. So I just feel like this could be a race that those guys that have been good are going to be, unless they get caught up in a wreck. You can't plan for that. You don't know when it's going to happen. But if they got clean cars and towards the end, plus they don't need stage points. Well, some might, because that's an under the radar thing to watch, is the points positioning, because those bonus points for the top 10. But those guys aren't going to take unnecessary risk. A win gets you 5 playoff points. That's a major thing that these guys could win anyways. So I think that's going to be. I just think it's going to be the guys that have already won a race this year. One of those guys is probably going to win on Saturday night.
Well, let's see. Let's check out the standings. So I'm at NASCAR.com. So let's go. All right. So we're at a situation now where, so Keselowski's already in, right?
Yeah, him and Harvick clinched. Yep.
Okay. So really, so this is now coming down to just there's only one driver then that's on the inside, Bubba Wallace. That's it. It's just one spot. Bubba's got the lead.
Bubba. Yep.
And what? Okay, so he's got. What does he have? A 64-point lead on Wallace, on Gibbs?
I've got it right here. He is 62. 62 up. Oh no, this is the owner's race. I was looking. I'm sorry. He 43.
Oh,
he's
43.
32 up on. No, he's 32 on Gibbs and 43 on Suarez. I forgot they swapped. I got it right here. So 32 points up on Gibbs and
Wallace,
Suarez.
So when it says Wallace is plus 32,
yes,
Gibbs is minus 32.
Yep.
So you're saying that's only 32 and it's not 64.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's 32 behind, which that's a lot to make up in a race.
Okay. So what has to happen if Wallace, if a non-playoff driver coming in does not win, specifically Gibbs or Suarez or AJ? You tell me. I mean, is there any way for them to win without winning? I mean, get in without winning.
Those are the final spot of the points are just those three. So let's just say somebody that's already won a race, or Harvick or Keselowski. So one of the 15 guys that are already in wins this race. Then it comes down that final spot on points. And yes, it's between Wallace, Gibbs, and Suarez. That's the only way.
Just those three.
Just those three.
Okay.
But you got to think Wallace is going to be after stage points, because if he can get some stage points early, then that gap, it's going to be tough to beat him on that. 43 is a lot to make up, especially when, I mean, I think it's 60 is the most you could score in a race.
Really?
Something around that. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's possible.
So you think Bubba's going to try to go after but going after the stage points, doesn't that put him in a little bit of danger?
Yes, but he's going to have to.
Okay.
Because you want to give that cushion to where if you get caught up in a wreck, you at least have the points. So he's got to get some points. But here's a caveat to him, because I thought, he's got to play the points game. But we're back in that last year. Remember the confusion of the owner's race and how Kurt Busch, the ride was in, but he wasn't, and Blaney wasn't in the owner's race, but he was in the driver's championship race.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yes.
Yeah, well, here we go again, because guess who's in it right now? Owner's race.
I don't know.
Chase Elliott. Okay. Chase Elliott's in. Wallace is out.
Okay.
And Hamlin talked about, because in that race, Wallace needs to win to get into the owner's race. And the owner's race pays the money. That pays the bills. A lot of people, they don't talk about that much.
No.
But the owner's race is actually one, oddly enough, that should be talked about more. It's so confusing with it, but the owner's race means more to the industry than the actual driver's championship, because that's where all the money's made. That's where all the charters.
But it's a very important point.
And Denny needs that 23 car in the Owners' Championship. And right now it's not Chase Elliott. So that's why all these Chase Elliott fans, well, I'm not going to watch the playoffs. Chase isn't going to make the – well, he actually is. He's in the Owners' race. That actually means more. So Hendrick is actually okay with that right now. So, but Bubba, he's 30 points out of the Owners' race. So, again, stage points help.
Okay.
And plus, if he wins the race –
to win.
Yeah, not only does he win the race, he gets in the drivers, he actually gets the owners. So oddly enough, as weird as it sounds, I don't cheer for drivers and storylines, but I'm kind of cheering that he wins and gets in so we don't have to talk about this confusion because the owners and drivers would line up. Because if Bubba makes the race on points, but he doesn't win the race, then we're talking a different owners race and a different drivers championship potentially. So I'm hoping it all lines up where it's not a talking point, but that is a thing to watch because they need to win to get in there. Another thing to watch too, again, I got this article up on raceonline.net. I think it's been up since Monday.
Okay.
The regular season championship is still up for grabs. That's 15 additional playoff points, and that's between Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. Hamlin cut 28 points off that gap last week at Watkins Glen. Right now, 21 points. So right now, he's within striking distance of catching Truex. Truex is not good at Daytona. We've talked about that before. He's 0 for 77.
Oh, yes.
Between drafting tracks.
Yes.
We know what Hamlin can do. So if Truex falters and Hamlin gets some stage points and scores some really good points, he could win the Owners' Championship. So, oddly enough, if you go to that
the Owners' Championship end in the regular season?
No, the Owners' Championship is just like the drivers.
Oh, so it goes all the way to the end. Okay.
Yep. It's that 4 different points races going on Daytona. That article right there, that's the one I'm referring.
Okay.
So I've got it. I even tiered it. So that top half, we're talking about regular points. Then you got the Owners' race. I kind of break it down for you there. You got the regular season crown. I'll talk about it there. Because the difference between winning the regular season championship and not is that's a race win. 15 playoff points for the regular season champion, 10 for second. So Hamlin that's an extra race win. And then plus that top 10 positioning, the bottom one, that's a lot too because again, you got 15 playoff points for the regular season champion. You get 10 for second. You get 8 for third, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down to 10th. Past top 10, you get nothing. And right now, Byron's third. He's 37 points back of Hamlin. Theory, he could catch him. But you got Bell, who's 33 points back of Byron. So you got these little mini battles in between there. And then 6th through 10th, they're separated by 4 points right now between Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick. That can jockey a lot. Plus, you got Kyle Busch, he's only 5 points back. Tyler Reddick's 10 points back. They're trying to get into the top 10. And where this is big is if you guys remember in Martinsville last year when Ross Chastain made that bonsai move to get into the championship 4, he beat Denny Hamlin by 1 point. So this playoff position, you get that extra playoff point in these standings.
Sure.
That could be the difference of advancing. So there's many battles that are going to be happening on track that I don't know how the TV is going to portray that, but that's something you definitely are going to want to watch, which means there's some intensity behind this race. Stage points are going to mean something a little bit between these guys fighting for that because if you punt them away, and let's say you finish outside the top 10 in regular season points, and you don't get those extra playoff points when your competitors do, that could come back to bite you in the playoffs. So there's some things that are going to be happening behind the scenes of this race you're going to want to keep an eye out on.
So by time we do the live coverage, let's say, again, there's an hour to go in the race, we'll have that information. We'll know. Like we don't have to rely, though, on the TV. We can actually follow it online. Okay.
Yep. And then, we'll know because we'll know the stage.
That'll be a good thing for us to talk about because a lot of times in the last hour of a Daytona race, unless there's a wreck, not a lot is really going on. So this could be a good thing for us to discuss. And
that and the drafting help with playoff drivers versus guys. Those would be the two main things to watch. I would say is positioning yourself for the end. That's a thing to watch. The regular season standings, jockeying for those positions and drafting help. That's going to be the big thing of who's going to position themselves with, because you've seen it every year at these tracks. It's now manufacturer specific. The Toyotas all pit on one lap. The Fords will all pit together on another lap. The Chevy guys will pit together and they all just kind of help each other. But when you get to the end, I'm just curious who's going to help who, because like as we're looking at these standings here, if I'm Ryan Preece, a Ford driver, and Austin Cindric, another Ford driver, is ahead of me, and there's 5 laps to go, and we're nearing the end, why on God's green earth are you going to help somebody else get to the playoffs when you need to help yourself?
Yep.
So at what point do guys make moves, and who do they help and who do they not help? I think there's going to be a lot of hurt feelings and egos at the end of this thing, which could create crashes because you're going to be leaving guys out to dry, and you're going to have to make moves. So this could be a very, very dangerous end of this race if these guys are all in one big pack. That's why I always side with, I think, a guy that's already won a race, because they're going to get that safe drafting help. They're going to be the guys like, look, I'm already in the playoffs. You can draft with me. I'll lead you to the front. Because if I win, it doesn't hurt you. It doesn't help somebody else get ahead of you. So, yeah, it's going to be – and here's a factor, too. I wrote about this, and then I heard Denny Hamlin's show talk about it. Let's say Ty Gibbs and Bubba Wallace are right up front, side by side. One's leading the low line. One's leading the high line. We got 1 lap to go, and Denny Hamlin's behind him. Who do you help if you're Denny Hamlin? Do you help your teammate, or do you help the car that you own?
Well, so wait, help his teammate, or you mean or the car?
Because Ty Gibbs is his teammate, yeah, and Bubba Wallace. So if Ty Gibbs wins, it knocks Bubba out. Ty Gibbs is in the playoffs.
You're helping Bubba.
I think you have to.
Yeah,
I think you have to. Plus, you need that car in the owners race.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker: is that car that you're helping, that you're hanging out the other car you're hanging out to dry is your boss's grandson.
Yeah,
at the team you drive for.
I don't think Denny cares. I don't think Denny cares.
I don't think he does either. I thought it was just a funny debate. I'm like, what if he's in that position? Or what if you're William Byron and Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman are on the front and you're running third? Who are you going to help? If I'm him, like, you two, I'm going to call. At that point, I'm like, I'm going to pit. I think I got a flat tire.
Right.
I'm not picking who I can't draft with one of them. Right. So it's going to be an interesting, some storylines.
Well, hopefully one of these scenarios will unfold, and we'll have some crazy stuff to talk about. Maybe it'll boil over until after the race. We might have some fisticuffs after the race, depending on who is upset or not. So what would you talk about the points that are available? So Daniel Suarez, 43 back. What does he realistically need to do if he doesn't win? Does he definitely need Bubba to wreck?
Probably. I mean, because look at it this way.
And how early would he need him to wreck? Probably.
He'd have to have him not get any stage points. Because even that is still – let's just say Suarez wins both stages. That's 20 points.
20 points.
He's still 23 down. That means he has to finish 23 positions ahead of Bubba Wallace.
Okay.
Which that's a lot to ask for. That's a lot. That's why I said for him – it's best winning. Ty Gibbs is even still 32 points. It could happen. Suarez made up 31 points in Michigan, but that's still 31. He's 32 now.
Okay.
So it's asking a lot to catch him on points.
All right.
So Bubba's in a really good spot. He just has to hope nobody wins behind him, because that's what and really that's the other standpoint. Yeah, and that's the other standpoint for an Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott and Austin Cindric. Is it easier just knowing it's more stressful, but it's easier just knowing the game plan is, look, we have to win. Who cares about stage points?
Sure.
Let's ride around in the back all race. Stage points aren't going to do anything for us.
Yeah.
We got to win. I think that's an easier path than worrying about points racing at Daytona. So I think you might see a lot of these guys that need to win. They might just hang out at the back. That's why I think the front may be all these guys that are position themselves for regular season points and all that. They may be the ones running up front.
But you can't. But the thing is nowadays is you can't really wait too long. You really do have, maybe if you want to do the first couple of stages, maybe. But as soon as that last stage goes, you got to go.
And these drivers have talked about that. It's hard to It's hard to come through a pack and pass with this package.
Not like the old days.
No, you can't be in the back too long. So yeah, you might ride in the first few stages in the back, but you got to pit strategize your way. Maybe no tires, maybe fuel only, maybe 2 tires. There's going to be some jockeying, some strategy to get them up there. So, so it's going to be a wild race all the way around.
All right. So now here's interesting. Compared to Watkins Glen, big difference, starting position. The last 11 winners at Daytona had an average starting position of 17.6. 31st, 34th, 29th, and 21st twice. Those were starting positions that won races at Daytona over the last 11 races. Toyota has not won the last 6. What do you think about that? Is that just coincidence? You're not too worried about that?
I am a little bit. It's one, it's strength in numbers. They don't have the numbers that Ford and Toyota or Ford and Chevy have. So there's not a lot of drafting help. But as all those guys have said too, that actually doesn't sometimes matter when you get to the end of the race because a lot of those guys could have already crashed out and their fleet could have gone down in half. Where their 6 might still all be running together. So I do feel Fords have an advantage on these tracks. They've got more speed. They've led 576 of 853 laps on these tracks this year. That's 67.5%. The only thing is Chevy has done all the winning on these tracks. They've won all but one race. Ford's leading the laps, Chevy's winning. But you just get the sense Ford's kind of up their performance the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So, they're plus 160 there to win outright. I do like just betting a Ford, and you get all the Ford fleet. So I think that's a much safer pick if you want to go with a manufacturer and get every driver.
All right. So how many? Because we have a lot of picks, of course, in these super speedway races. So how many do you think we all agreed upon?
I'll go 5 this week.
Close. 4.
4. Okay.
And who are they?
Blaney?
Yes.
Logano?
Yes.
Keselowski?
No.
Busher?
No. I didn't take either of those.
About Jones?
No. There is one long shot.
LaJoy?
Mm-mm.
Haley? Was Haley the long shot?
No.
No? I'll go back to it. Is Kyle one of the favorites? Do we all take Kyle?
No.
No?
You're the only one that took Kyle.
I didn't feel good about him, but I took. Let's see here. Who am I missing? Go under my notes here. I'm missing somebody.
Yeah, you're missing
Cindric?
an easy one. No.
Bubba?
You didn't take Cindric.
No, I didn't think I did.
Yeah. Yes. Wallace. And then a long shot.
I'm trying to think of the long shot. There's several longer ones.
No, we've hardly ever taken this driver all season.
I'm drawing a blank. I'm looking through my notes here.
Because we don't usually take them.
Who is it? I said Priest. Okay.
So those are the 4: Blaney, Logano, Wallace, and Priest. And you went out with the strategy of going big time on for the top 5, excluding, of course, Elliott out of that group. I did not. CJ was the only one to take Elliott. I did not take Kyle Busch or Keselowski, though, or Byron, as far as the top guys. You did not take Hamlin. You did not take Elliott, Byron, or Hamlin. Why not take Hamlin?
He's actually never won the summer race there.
Yes.
Yeah. And this season, he's only finished 17th, 6th, 17th, and 14th on super speedways.
Yeah, I didn't put a lot of money on it myself. I put money to get back. That's what I hedged. I hedged on Hamlin with all those reasons you said. I was just surprised that you didn't, because 14-1 to me, I was a little, wow, I can get 14-1 on Denny Hamlin. I'm going to put something on him.
Yeah, I almost did. Exact that, and I feel like his best interest is he's everything he can do to get Wallace a win or in, and then if Wallace goes by the wayside, I do feel like he'd help Gibbs. So I just feel like he's going to be more of the the pusher rather than the pushy.
Okay.
I feel like he's going to be the guy that's going to be. Granted, that could work because if those guys all fall out and they run a strategy wise and they're in the lead, then he's bar none one of the best on super speedways. But he just hasn't ran good on them this year, and I thought I could go the money elsewhere, try to get a bigger win elsewhere than throw money his way.
By the way, some comments before we dive headfirst into this race this past week. Alan Batt, great to see you guys. So great to hear from you, Alan.
Yep, definitely.
Wayne Billow, and Wayne we've been starting to hear from because remember Wayne was the dude from Canada.
Yep.
So Wayne, another great show. You're winning me races. Thanks.
All right.
So always glad to hear when one of our viewers is making money based on our information. Randolph Rourke, love the show. Is there any way you guys could throw in a small segment where you mention some good fantasy picks for each race? 5 drivers plus 1 in the garage.
I like it.
So 5 segment mention good fantasy picks. Okay. So who would you like as a fantasy pick?
Well,
See, what's the strategy though? We have to come up with a and of course we can start fresh next year with something like that. So
yeah,
we should have a strategy because we can't just all right. Well, I'm taking these. There should be because there's like a game you have to play with usually.
Yeah,
right? So
I was gonna say usually, and it's usually like money and like not real money, but like you gotta like kind of like we do. You got $100, and this driver costs 32, and because it'd be easy to say like like Logano, Blaney, I'll say a few. I'll give a few favorites, a few sleepers, and I would say
so. Maybe we do 2 favorites, 2 contenders or sleepers, and 2 long shots.
That's exactly what I was saying. I really like Blaney Keselowski. I think a sleeper. I don't think he'll win, but I think 2 sleepers. I'll give you 3 sleepers because it's Daytona. You get maybe more value. Suarez. We'll talk his odds when we get to him in the show. Eric Jones.
Okay.
And I think another one that, oddly enough, he hates super speedway racing, but AJ Allmendinger. I think he's a guy that could get you some good value because I think for these top 10s are going to be good for a fantasy team.
He's my he's the one this week that could make me the most money.
I feel good about
I invested 10 on AJ at 45 to 1.
It's a good win there. You see, I went with him too. I think this is a good storyline for
especially
a guy that
because he hasn't had the baby yet, have they?
No, that baby's still in there. So I think it'd be a good story that the guy that hates super speedway racing didn't want to do any of it.
Yeah,
prefers road courses, goes out and wins the super speedway to get in the playoffs.
And gets into the playoffs. So
we'll. And you look at his finishes. Yeah, we'll talk about him. So he's one that I like. A guy I'd leave in the garage, Chase Elliott.
Yeah,
I'd leave him. Kyle Larson, Truex Jr. Those guys I'd probably punt on this week.
Okay, so that's cool. So we'll try to come up with something like that and make a game of it starting next year, and maybe we'll try to figure out a way to make a game of it during the playoffs since we start that, of course.
Yeah, and if you want to comment, and if he can comment maybe some of the rules that he's playing on, and we could do this through the season, through the playoffs, if you just. Or guide us to like a link to what you're playing.
Yeah, like if you need some advice, the easiest way, Randolph, is to get quick communication back and forth is to log on to Discord. So log on to the Discord channel, and then this way we can go boom, boom.
Yeah,
and everybody can see what we're talking about.
Exactly, and then worst case, if you want to comment on a link on our show, just tell us what the rules are that you're playing so we know. Because as Greg said, the easiest thing would be like I could just give you the 5 favorites and a couple sleepers, but I know that you're probably playing with something involved with you got a certain amount of money and drivers cost this to go with. So if we could help you out if you just maybe a little insight of the rules. And for sure, we could do that segments of the playoffs. I don't want to waste your time by giving you a bunch of drivers that won't work for you.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely comment and we'll help you out there for sure.
Yeah, we do the one and done in golf, and I wish they had a one and done NASCAR. I don't even know if they do. I haven't found it, but it would be great if they could come up with something like that. It'd be a little bit more difficult. There's only a certain amount of drivers, but maybe there's another similar type of game that's out there that we could really zero in on next year. All right, so you got the favorites, and again, I'll even we can go by the odds have they are now. So Chase, of course. So keep in mind, as far as Chase's stats, he had runner-ups in 20 and 21. Those were his only top fives. That's it in 15 races at Daytona. So it's all, and he's got an average finish of 22nd. All right, and he's favorite. So you got Hamlin and Keselowski after that. Now I took Hamlin and you took Keselowski. So again, explained now again why I took Hamlin. I gave some of the reasons, including how hot he is. He's still hot. This is the hottest time for Denny Hamlin. If he wasn't hot, I probably wouldn't take him. But he's still hot. And as far as Keselowski, I stayed away. He was 18-1 in the 500. He's down to 11-1 now. And that's probably why, based on how he's doing this season. But my problem is he's only won once in 28 races. He's only had 3 top fives at Daytona. It's completely different statistically, Keselowski at Daytona from Talladega. And he has not finished a Daytona race 10 of the last 13. And he hasn't had a top 5 in his last 13 since his 2016 win. During that last 13, his average finish is 25.7. So that's why I stood away from Keselowski and went with Hamlin.
I picked him. Like I said, he's been good on these tracks this year. 3 top 10s, 4 races. He's led the second most laps at 110. He was leading the Daytona 500 with 5 to go, and then Kyle got by him, and then he got caught up in that crash, or he had a top 5 car. Top 5, not for rain in Atlanta back in July. Keselowski was probably going to win that race. Remember, they pit, and then they were trying to run it out.
Oh yeah,
the rain never came, and he pit, and then he got all the way back up to the top 10. He just didn't have enough time to get there, so he had a good car there. Runner up in the first Atlanta race, 5th in Talladega. He won the duel there in 2022 February race. So I just feel like it's, as you mentioned, I picked a lot of the drivers forwards up front that I feel like somebody is going to win that's already won a race this season or is in a position that's in the playoffs. So I feel like he's doing better. He's got all those top 6s. Could be even wins if they didn't mess up strategy or pit road. So
how crazy is it?
I like
Keselowski and Buescher are 6th and 7th
in points. Yeah, that's overall points. Like they're doing really. That's why I made mention a few weeks ago. If you could make the case that Roush is one of the top 4 teams, if not the top team right now. I mean, you look at their point standing, and they could have again another silly season thing going around. I mean, there's a rumor 23-11 could be a 4 team next year.
All right. And any rumor on who that would be?
It would be Wallace and Reddick and Denny Hamlin moving over to Ford. I mean, it takes Hamlin out of the Gibbs car.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a big thing that could be, that could be in the works.
All right.
So.
All right, Blaney, Logano, they're 12-1, and definitely had to take both of those guys.
Oh yeah.
So especially if they're together, which they don't seem to get together at the end of these races, but that's just luck. Logano coming off a 2nd at the 500, and Blaney an 8th. But yeah, Blaney, we know how he is on these races. He was 2nd at Talladega, led 47 laps. He's got 5 top 10s in his last 7 at Daytona with a runner-up and a win.
Yeah, Blaney's got the most points scored on these tracks, we said. Logano's led the most laps, 166 laps. They both have led. Actually, oddly enough, 4 drivers have led in every super speedway race this year. Blaney, Logano, Keselowski, and Eric Almirola. Those are the only 4. But Logano, he said, runner-up in Daytona 500. He won Atlanta. Blaney's the only one with the top 10 finish in all 4 races. He won this race in 2021. I feel like both of them, it's a big if because it's Daytona. They stay out of trouble.
Oh
they'll
yeah.
have good fast
Oh yeah.
cars that can win this race.
That's it. Stay out of trouble and forget it. It's gonna be tough for them to not win. All right. Kyle is now 14-1. Byron, Busher, Wallace are now 16-1. So you said that you were debating Kyle. So I didn't put money on Kyle. He's got one win at Daytona in 36 races, and he hasn't finished 5 of his last 7. 19th earlier this year, but again, we talked about that for sure. That really began the year of all those situations where it looked like we had drivers that were going to win, and then really bad situations happened, including Kyle, who probably should have won the 500, but then he won the Geico 500 at Talladega in April, and then Byron has one win 2020, but just 2 top 5s out of 11, and he has wrecked 4 straight times and 7 of 11 all time with an average finish at Daytona of 26.2.
Yeah, Byron scared me a bit. Bush, and Bush is you almost looking for him on a milk carton. I don't know where he's gone. I mean, he was really hot, and then he's just falling out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's kind of he's a veteran. He's a wily veteran waiting for the postseason.
Yep, and we've seen, like we talked in Talladega, like where did he come from? And he won Talladega. He's had a similar stat, and he won the Daytona 500. He just didn't win the Daytona 520. Remember, he was leading.
That's it.
And he won Talladega. He was 10th and 5th at Atlanta, so he's got 3 top 10s. He scored the 5th most points in super speedways this year, and I thought for getting him for those odds. Granted, do I think he's going to jump out and win? Not necessarily. But he also could win. He's also won a race, and he could get some drafting help from somebody that, hey, I'm going to push him because if he's running up front with his teammate Austin Dillon, people are going to be pushing him, not Austin Dillon, for the win. So for those odds, that's why I went his direction. And Byron, I just don't get a feel. And if any of the Hendrick guys, Byron would be my pick. But is he really going to win 2 straight? I just find it hard to believe he's going to win 2 in one of them at Watkins Glen and Daytona of all places. Winning 2, it's hard to believe that'll actually happen.
Busher, Wallace 16-1, Truex and Larson 18-1. So Busher has done. This is a good track for Busher. He's got 4 top 5s. He was 30-1 in the 500. Now he's getting respect. 4th in that race. He led 32 laps. Wallace, again, we're all going with Wallace. 4 top 5s, so just like Busher. Runner-up 3 times, 21 and 22, the most recent. He was part of the wreck late at the 500 and led 35 laps at Talladega before also getting into trouble. Truex and Larson, we've talked about this for forever. But to me, there is a difference, and that is Truex has shown something this year. So, I mean, he led laps at Daytona, he led laps at Talladega, and he's never done that. For the most part, this is just not his type of racing. So, I think there's a clear advantage between the two. I would take Truex before I take Larson based on that.
Yeah.
And you're getting better odds with Larson now, which is good. He never should have been 12-1 in the Daytona 500. He's had some top 10s, yes, but still, he hasn't finished the last 4 races. Average finish 22nd. And let's remember, he's had in his last 4 starting pole positions at Daytona were second, first, and first. And he didn't do anything with it.
No. Yeah, he's got 1 top 5 and 39 super speedway starts. So not a guy that you want to risk even for a top 5. And as we said, Truex is 0 for 77 on winning those races. So I don't think those two should be a factor. Oddly enough, he dropped down to 20. I was like, I didn't see Suarez. He dropped. So he went from 20-1 to 28-1. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Busher, I do like Busher. He's got 2 wins this year. He won a duel. He's got 5 top 10s his last 12 Daytona starts. He's right there at 16-1. He's got the 3rd most laps led all season as far as super speedways of 76, and he's got 7th most points scored. And we know him and Keselowski, as we talked about, have been running well. So he's a good one to watch as far as that 16-1 group.
All right. And then at 22-1, you have Almirola and Bowman. 25, Reddick, Chastain, Bell, and Cindric. So taking a look at those guys, Almirola won all the way back in 2014. Only 3 top 5s, so not much for Almirola. We know he can do it, but I'm just not feeling it this year for him.
No.
In this group, I put money on Bell,
Yep.
and I did put money on Cindric, and I did put money on both Bowman and Reddick. The money for Bowman and Reddick were just to hedge my bet. Bowman was fifth from the pole this year, and Reddick, actually, if you take a look at his numbers overall, he was runner up in this race last year. He does have an Xfinity win at Daytona. But the other two that I really liked in this group, Bell and Cindric, because obviously he's got the teammates. So if he's hooked up with Blaney or Logano, you know who's pushing who. Cindric's
Yep.
going to be the one to get the benefit of the doubt. So there's that, and of course Cindric also has himself a win and a third place finish too, out of 4 races at Daytona. Bell is the one that has really surprised us lately, and so now in totality, he's starting to now get into the rhythm that he had in the Xfinity Series. He's becoming a pretty good racer, super speedway racer. Third earlier this year in the Xfinity Series, 4 top 10s, 2 top 5s out of 5, 8th at Talladega. I like the way and Bell. Maybe this is the week that he finally puts it all together. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He is driving a Toyota, but you're also getting pretty decent odds.
Yeah, I feel like Bell would be the top Toyota driver. I feel Hamlin's going to get a lot of the attention, but I feel like Bell could be your top Toyota finisher. Remember that 20 car with Eric Jones, who we'll talk about him in a second, won this race a few years ago. And Bell, he's been knocking on the door. I feel like he's been really good in the duels there, which is a night race. This is a night race again here. So I feel with running top 5 in the Daytona 500, he's starting to get some momentum back on his side again. He's got that we don't have to mention. This is probably the last time I do mention it, that he's got his first top 5 finish.
He did,
Last week. There we go. So things are looking up for him.
Yeah.
And a good stat is we're going to get to these drivers coming up, and this will factor in for Bell. None of the last 12 points playing Daytona races were won by a series champion. So Bell will fit that criteria. There's been 13 different winners in the last 13 Coke Zero Sugar 400s.
Oh, okay.
Bell fits that criteria. So as we hit these long shots here, remember those 2 stats right there. No series champions the last 12. And I preface points pain. I don't mean the duels or anything like that. I'm talking Daytona 500, Coke Zero Sugar 400. It's 0 for 12 for series champion, and 13 different winners and 13 different races. So that's definitely a trend to watch at Daytona. So Bell falls into that too. So as we hit these drivers coming up, be wary of that.
Okay. Gibbs and Stenhouse with Jones, Suarez, and Dillon are all 28-1. And as far as this group is concerned, let's see. This is where you put money on Jones.
Mm-hmm.
He's down from 35. I put money in this group. Actually, just Dillon. I just put a couple of bucks on him because he's done this before. So that's the reason. He's got 2 wins, and he is the defending champ. So he did this last year, right? This was the race where he would not have made the playoffs had he not won.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah. Yep, he got to win.
So he's done that before. That's the reason I did that. But yeah, as far as this group, Jones is your guy, and also you mentioned Suarez, of course, because he's down. I mean, he's up from 20-1 where you had him. So now you're getting better odds at 28-1. So those are your 2 guys here, Jones and Suarez.
Yeah, and Suarez was never a super speedway racer. I mean, prior to this year, his best finish at Daytona was 17th. And then you look at this year, he was 7th at Daytona 500, 9th in Talladega, 2nd in Atlanta 2. So he's got 3 top 10s. So I thought for those odds, I'll go with him. Jones won this race in 2018. He won the Clash in 2020. He got a top 5 in the 2022 Daytona 500 going, so he got wrecked in the end. And then his last 3 super speedway finishes on the season were 8th, 6th, and 11th. And we know he's been heating up a little bit, so I definitely went that direction. For Stenhouse, the last 2 times somebody swept Daytona, so the 500 and 400, 1982 and 2013. Buddy Baker and Jimmy Johnson. I don't think Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s name will be tied to those 2. And Austin Dillon, what scared me, and it's only happened 5 times in the history of Daytona, did somebody win consecutive summer races. That's
Okay.
Fireball Roberts, AJ Foyt, Cale Yarborough, David Pearson, and Tony Stewart. I don't know if Dylan's name
Yeah,
will
probably
be with
not.
those. So that's why I faded those two. But I do feel good about Jones and Suarez for this week.
And then you can see the rest of the long shots there. So as far as those are concerned, you went with, again, we all went with Priest. You and I went with AJ and LaJoy. You went with Haley, and I put a couple of bucks on Austin Hill.
Yeah,
So
why not? Yeah.
yeah. So again, just looking at it, Harvick, I just did it because of his odds. I know he hasn't been very good at these races lately, but I mean, I can get big odds on Harvick. I'm going to do it in a race like this. You know, we've talked a lot about LaJoy in these situations. Priest, in his last 3 races, 2 of them, 4th and 6th. So, and that's, hey, maybe it'll finally pay off for CJ and his fantasy team. But AJ, why not AJ Allmendinger? In his last 5 races, even though most of them were starting in 2018 because that was his first race at the 500 since then, but 6th, 3rd, 10th, 8th, and 3rd. And 4 top 5s and 6 Xfinity races with 2 runner-ups, and he's led 142 laps combined during that stretch. So he's been really good at Daytona. So why not grab him? And Austin Hill has 2 wins in 4 Xfinity Series races. So why not go with Austin Hill? So what about you?
And Austin Hill. Yeah, I like remember that car Noah Gragson drove it last year and finished the top 5, and he's plus 850 for a top 5 right there.
Okay.
Allmendinger plus 550 for a top 5 right there. Build some top 5s out of those and win you some money. And as you said, Allmendinger's got the 12th most points scored on super speedways this season. I mean, he's ahead of William Byron, Chastain, Truex, Reddick, McDowell, Haley, Elliott, Harvick, Briscoe, Wallace. He's ahead of all those guys.
There you go.
So yeah, he needs a win. So I think that's a good one. And Priest, remember the Daytona 500, he was up front and got wrecked in turn 1 towards the end of that race too. So also needing a win. So those are good ones. Riley Herbst, top 10 in the Daytona 500. I don't think he's going to win, but plus 1,200 for a top 5 doesn't hurt to parlay something into that either. So yeah, should be some those long shots, especially if there's some carnage. I think you could definitely see some crazy ending finishes there.
And don't forget, Race Review Online. Check it out. Of course, you're going to be able to see it. And we're going to have the description links to some of the stories, including, of course, our fantasy points. Our futures will come out in the next couple of days. We'll post that again. And also, of course, our picks. Summary of all our picks will be in this on this site probably by the time you are watching this video. Or I know by the time you're watching this video. Yep. So that is going to wrap it up. Appreciate your time as always, Eric. And again, I'm looking forward to, fingers crossed, Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday night. Absolutely.
Join us then. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. And don't forget to check out Eric's IndyCar report, too.
Yep, definitely.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Appreciate it.